support Carla Spalding over Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I know Carla Spalding, and she's an honest person with integrity. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is corrupt. That's quite clear. We see that through her actions as DNC chair. All the WikiLeaks, the DNC emails that came out showed that Wasserman Schultz was corrupt as a DNC chair, that she tried to rig the primaries against Bernie Sanders and for Hillary Clinton. She violated her oath as a DNC chair by picking sides in that race. And she used the DNC to surveil my campaign and to infiltrate my campaign. So she's corrupt. Look at where she is in Congress. She's aligned herself with anti-Israel politicians, Democrats in the House of Representatives. She voted for the Iran agreement. She should be applauding Donald Trump for negotiating peace settlements for Israel with the United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain, and with other countries. She doesn't do that. She was a warmonger. She was cheering on war in Syria. She was cheering on the regime change war in Libya. And she's done nothing for the African American community here in South Florida. Nothing.
What does that say about her support for the Iran nuclear deal, considering that she has always been pro-Israel?
It means that she has no principles, that she's willing to support anything for whatever the deal of the day is. If she was really pro-Israel, she would not have been for that Iran agreement. And instead, she stayed silent in a party that has become rabidly anti-Israel. And you take a look at why is there not peace between Israel and the Palestinians? And the narrative that you hear on the left in the Democratic Party from Bernie Sanders is that it's all because of Israeli war crimes. It has nothing to do with the Palestinian leadership. It has nothing to do with all of the neighboring states, Arab states, and Iran that are making it impossible for the Palestinians to come to the negotiating table. And they don't put themselves in the position that the Israelis are in, surrounded by hostile neighbors, subjected to suicide bombing attack campaigns, twice, 2 intifadas. And if this country was subjected to those kinds of campaigns, terrorist campaigns, you could bet that folks would be wanting more draconian measures here than we've seen the Israelis employ. Well, this is another reason that I support Carla Spalding over Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You know, Wasserman Schultz has pandered to part of her party, and she has been very divisive for race relations, I believe. You take a look at Carla Spalding, and when you ask her, are you for defunding the police? She gives an honest answer that you'll hear from most African Americans. You know, 81% of African Americans either want the same funding for police services or more funding for police services. And when you start having rioting and looting and violence, as we've seen over the past few months, it affects, impacts, hurts the African American communities far worse than it hurts non-African American communities. So Carla Spalding says we should have more funding for the police, not for more weapons, but to better train the police. And I've heard her say this. She believes the police should be taking the kind of training they should be getting. They should be taking courses in psychology, in sociology, in conflict resolution. Who shouldn't be for that? Who wouldn't be for that? Apparently Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So who's really for taking care of the African American community? It's not Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz at all. She's done nothing for this community in this district. She's been in Congress for years, and before that, the state legislature. And the African American community in Broward County is just languishing with extremely high rates of unemployment, youth unemployment, and she's done nothing. She's done nothing except call Donald Trump a racist. And what I find is the people who yell the loudest and call other people racist quite often are the ones who are the real racists.